Who would have thought I'd be sitting here this evening at my desk at a time that none of us saw coming? First, I want you to know I love you dearly, and I give thanks to God for each and every one of you. I love this church very much. You know, as Charles Dickens once famously wrote, I should say, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. Obviously, in many ways, his time was more threatening than ours. But his description is apt in our unfolding reality here in the U.S. and worldwide. Let's think about the best of times for a moment in our situation. A spaciousness of time has been opened up for people. For many of us whose relentless schedules have left us worn and weary and just worn down. I've been preaching about that in my series. I'm trying to follow in this rhythm of Jesus, walking in rhythm with Him and giving thanks to God and living a life that is appreciative of one another and creation and taking care of each other and having the time to do that through silence and solitude and embracing Sabbath, and living a life of simplicity. Many of us now find ourselves staying home from work, from school, from church, from sporting events and other gathering spaces. And our lives have shifted to a quieter rhythm for this Lenten season for many of us. This can be a gift, though admittedly, it's a gift that's easier to accept by those of us who are perhaps a bit more privileged than by our sisters and brothers who are a bit more vulnerable in our society and in this world during this crisis. As has been noted in the series, I've been preaching on the fact that Sabbath is a gift just waiting to be opened. It appears it has taken, though, a national and global emergency for us to slow down a bit to a more appropriate human pace. Please believe me, this was not my intent to get you guys to slow down, to go at it in this manner. But here we are. Lent is all about, this season leading into Easter, is all about self-examination. Restricting some of the ways that we distract ourselves from paying attention to the holy presence of God in our midst. And doing it the way we're doing it right now is certainly an unexpected opportunity in these times. Listening intently to scriptures and lingering in prayer, I do believe will bear spiritual fruit. We can invite Jesus to lead us through the Gethsemane of the unknown and the unknowing. And Jesus promises never to leave or forsake us, even when we're in that garden, okay? And wondering where life has taken us. Pastors around this nation and world are shepherding their flocks in creative ways. Digging deep down to find words of care and comfort. Mining scriptural texts for guidance and refining their own faith and hope as they lead others. They are learning to get more involved with technological advances that we can use to proclaim and share the good news with others and help us to connect at times like this. It's a joy to see ministers at their best rising up right now as they grow even more intentional on tending the scattered sheep, if you will. It is the best of times for loved ones to hunker down a bit, to do it together and to do things that our frantic schedules never permitted, like sitting down and making a puzzle together, reading books, playing games, watching movies, and maybe even a presidential debate, though that doesn't sound very restful. But we can gather together at times like this, and we can be present to one another in a way perhaps we haven't been for a long time. We may even rediscover that we kind of like those folks we call family. Perhaps this forced togetherness, amid all the appropriate social distancing, will give us some opportunity to renew and deepen heartfelt relationships. For many, however, it is the worst of times. Healthcare workers and other frontline responders and caregivers are besieged. Retirement communities and nursing homes and such feel a great threat to their residents and their staff. School teachers and administrators and parents are scrambling to deliver constructive learning experiences. Hourly wage workers are wondering about their jobs and face income insecurity. Some businesses are already being devastated financially, and many others are having to make some severe measures. And the list goes on. Many members of our communities cannot see a clear pathway right now through the present crises. People on the margins of society who depend upon shelter and meals at community ministries, transportation to medical appointments, and the provision of childcare are trying to navigate their way right now through multiple daily challenges. Already fraying safety nets are further torn. Great hardship abounds. I mean, I see residents right next door at the Golden Glow Towers, the senior living over there, apartments. It's as if those residents are feeling locked down, if not physically, certainly socially. And I miss them. They're right next door, and I feel like I can't even go over and see them. Those on the margins, they're not able to stock up or hoard like many of us are doing. Basic human needs will go wanting with tragic consequences. It is the worst of times when racial profiling is heightened. An acquaintance at Flying M, I've gotten to know her, she's of Chinese heritage, shared with me a couple stories of accusatory behavior towards her, leveled against her and her family. It is the human propensity to scapegoat others, and it's so sad. And many people at times like this give in to their fears and to their worst xenophobia in this kind of climate. It's so sad to hear people are just buying up the guns and the ammunition they need. Sadly, people just end up focusing on themselves, but they look for that scapegoat. Why do we keep doing this? I mean, some in governments continue to call this virus a Chinese virus, making the justification of calling it that by saying, well, it came from China, and well, we call things like the measles German measles and the flu Spanish flu. Just because we accepted and used those terms, just because we brought them into our language, into our culture in the past, doesn't mean we follow the past. Lessons can be learned from our mistakes of the past. Why people in government don't understand this, I will never understand. I don't know why they do that so quote-unquote innocently. Because they're pointing blame and they're demeaning a people. They're social profiling. As followers of Jesus, we should know better than to succumb to this kind of denigration of others who are created in the image of God. It is the worst of times when people with means think only about their own concerns. Tales of grocery store competition are replete with selfishness. Yeah, there's a lot of good stories out there, but oh my, when that truck pulls up with more supplies, people are stocking up like life has become an apocalyptic turn. We worry about having enough. And that displays little trust in the gospel that calls us to not go that direction. There's a better way. The Apostle Paul instructs us to let the mind of Christ be in us, so that we are thinking of the interests of others before our own. That's from Philippians chapter 2, verse 4. We humans are social animals, and we were meant for each other, as N.T. Wright describes in his book, Simply Christian. We must find ways to sustain one another, especially those who feel so isolated by this pandemic. Just calling someone on the phone demonstrates a concern, and it's a virus-free way to demonstrate our concern. Emails mediate a presence that is so needed. FaceTime and Zoom help us to see one another's faces. Our elders and deacons here are striving to implement some of these endeavors to keep friends and members in touch with each other during this time. Generous financial support of trustworthy social service agencies and ministries can have a direct impact on those who are most at risk right now. Our Marginalia ministry every Wednesday will continue to be handing out sack lunches to anyone who comes here to church on Wednesday morning. In Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, the historical novel is set in the time leading up to the French Revolution. It tells how diverse, disparate people experience the best and the worst of times. It is cautionary, and it offers wisdom for how to conduct ourselves in the midst of crises. While we are no way perhaps beset by all that Dickens' time portended, we have some choices about how to live in our own time. May God give us the wisdom and the courage to choose wisely. I miss you guys. I love you. Take care of yourselves and each other as best you can. God is with you. Peace be with you. Always. Always.